exactly.
All right, moving on, man. Daggone. So we gonna stay with the NBA here. I think we're gonna stay with the NBA to the next couple ones, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep,
So
yep.
after being traded from Phoenix to the Wizards, Chris Paul is now moving to the
The Bay
Golden
Area.
State Warriors, the Bay Area Sticks. How you feeling about this trade? I don't know how I feel about this trade.
I think it's good for Chris Paul, man, because Chris Paul has had such a negative connotation. And you went to school with Chris Paul, so he's had such a negative connotation in the public eyes here recently as quote unquote a choke artist and can't win a championship, this, that, and the third. And he's been probably the best point guard for the past 20 years. To be perfectly honest with you, I think Chris Paul is probably the best actual PG. Like you can people can say LeBron, and here we go again getting LeBron in here when it ain't got nothing to do with
LeBron.
him. But people can say that LeBron has been a point forward or a point guard for the majority of his career. But as far as like a true point guard, I think Chris Paul has been the best point guard in the NBA for a very, very long time. And for him to be on a lot of different teams, he was with New Orleans for a little bit. He was with, some of his best years were in LA. Of course, here recently he's been with Phoenix, and he had that team that he had this past year, but he was kind of hampered with injuries and stuff like that. So it's like this right here, I feel like to me gives Chris Paul one of the better opportunities to win that championship in that system that he has over there with Coach Kerr, with Steve Kerr. You still got Steph, which I believe that this gives Steph Curry the opportunity to play his true position, that I believe his true position is a shooting guard. So this gives him the opportunity to play his true position as a shooting guard. It gives Clay a lot of room to roam as he always does. It takes the ball out of Draymond's hands and puts him back into his natural position as a power forward, to where Chris Paul can kind of run this offense. But that's if Draymond is still there, because they talking about still moving him, but we ain't seen that yet. But to me, bro, I think this is a good trade for Chris Paul. And I felt like after that shot in the playoffs that Jordan Poole made, I figured he was going to be out of there anyway right after that, because Steph was like, bro, I feel like he was like, bro, we got to get this nigga the fuck up out of here.
Oh, you talking about the first round, the second round with the Lakers, where he took that
when he took that 30-foot shot on the left wing, like, bro,
missed. You mean that he missed? You said
yeah,
maybe.
he
Okay,
missed.
yeah.
Did I say?
Yeah.
Did I say he made
it?
it?
Yeah, it's
Oh, my fault.
Yeah, you
The one that
he
he missed, the shot that he missed, and it's the shot that everybody was talking about, bro. I felt like he was going to be out of there anyway after that. So I mean, and they got him up out of there real quick too. So I mean, I think this is a really good opportunity for Chris Paul to get that elusive first championship. Hopefully, you know what I'm saying? And with the team that they can possibly keep together in Golden State with Chris Paul, it's going to be a dangerous team, bro. What you think?
So my NBA trade takes have been subpar.
Mine have been pretty good. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, yours have been pretty good. So we'll see. I feel like I really don't know how to feel about this trade. One, because this trade makes Golden State a very small team. The tallest person on the team is Kevon Looney at 6'9". We just saw the Denver Nuggets win the championship powered by Nikola Jokic, which we've been talking about him for the last 3 months as well.
I'm telling you, bro.
He's changed a lot of our I know I can't speak for Sticks, but
I can say my mind too. He has.
About his game and actually being able to watch him throughout the playoffs. And I just think like the small ball era is on its way out, especially with the resurgence of big athletic ball handling men in basketball. So with Golden State being so little, I mean, if you look at their roster, they have nothing but guards and forwards. No center, nobody over 6'9", like I said. Unless you believe the memes that Alvin Kuminga is now 7'2", which that's not true.
I don't believe that.
Yeah, but they're a small team, so I'm with you. I think this is CP's last viable chance to win a championship. But I just can't see it. I can't see it happening. One, I could be way wrong about this take. I don't see CP and Draymond gelling that well. They just have the same type of personality, and I think
Okay.
you always hear when CP leaves a team, they're like CP's an asshole, this and that. Blah. I didn't see that at Wake. We were somewhat tight. I wouldn't say tight. We knew who each other were, and
Right.
we could talk to each other. So he was cool. I never had no issues with him.
Hmm.
But hearing about his reputation in the NBA, and he was the president of the
The
NBA
Players
Players Association.
Association. Hmm.
So he was a NBA's Players Association president, but everybody calls him an asshole. So I mean, I think I really don't know how to feel about it. It could be good, it could be bad. It just means like the Warriors will have to be a high-powered offensive team because I don't see them stopping anybody on the defensive side with the size that they have right now.
Well, you know what's crazy though is Kayvon Looney was one of the best offensive rebounding power forwards in the NBA this past season. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, he knows how to get. He's like the, and I don't want to say this as if I'm comparing the two, but he's been over this past year or two like the Dennis Rodman of the NBA. Like he knows how to position himself. He knows how to
Yeah,
fight for rebounds. He gives that extra effort on the offensive boards and the defensive boards. So it's like when it comes down to a center, I mean, I guess Kayvon Looney is the best for that position. But I do agree they need to get some size on that team. And if they do, like if they work their cars well in free agency, or if they do end up moving Draymond, maybe for the reason that you said you don't see them gelling, then and I don't see the Warriors getting rid of Draymond personally because
yeah, they're
they've had
not.
so much success. They had so much success with Draymond, so I feel like they're gonna find out a way to keep him if they possibly can. But if they do move Draymond, they can move him for that big man, like a Brook Lopez type, because he was on the last year of his contract as well with Milwaukee. So we'll see what happens with it, but I feel like I think this is his best chance, probably last chance. Because with the injuries and Father Time, it might be one of those situations like Braun where he might be thinking about retirement, possibly. But I think the Chris Paul still got a year or so in him, just in case, depending on what his contract says with Golden State. And I didn't look into that. I didn't look into the contract, but I just feel like this is a good trade for them and a good trade for him. But was you about to say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say his contract. We play on sports, Sticks. I'm just be 100% with you. He has 2 years and he can make 68 million for them 2 years. So the first year he's going to be under contract, and then the second year he is going to be he has an option. He has a
Player
player's
option. Player option.
yeah. So
Got you.
he can opt out of that, but I don't think he will
I don't think so either.
because, like you said, he's on his last leg in the NBA of getting those ample opportunities that he was getting before.
Mm-hmm.
Just because he has been injury prone the last few years, especially when you make those deep playoff runs in critical
Mm-hmm.
games. He did it with Houston. He did it with he did it with the Clippers too. He did it with the Clippers. He did it with Houston, and then he did it with Phoenix last year. I don't think he was hurt this year, but I don't think he quite showed up how he should have. I didn't watch that series to tell you much about that, but I do know has had some injuries at critical points where he was on teams that were championship contenders.
100%.
And so that's why you're saying what you said earlier is that they're calling him a choke artist. Injuries happen in sports, man. NBA, they play a long season. They play from, especially if you're deep in the playoffs, they're playing from October to May, June. That's a long time.
It's a long
So
time.
I do see this as his last viable way or last viable chance of getting that first championship ring. Does that mean he's a bad player because he doesn't have one? Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
I think he is first ballot Hall of Famer.
100%.
Without question, first ballot Hall of Famer. So
Yeah, I don't think anybody would say he's a bad player. I think most people would say, like I said, probably the best point guard in the NBA his entire career. To be perfectly honest with
Yeah,
you, and if that's the case, then I don't think nobody would say Carmelo Anthony is a bad player. I don't think nobody would say John Stockton is a bad player. I don't think nobody would say Karl Malone's a bad player because they don't have
yeah,
championships either. Charles Barkley, like there's a lot of
Charles
people
Barkley.
who are Hall of Famers who don't have championships. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? And to say that he's a choke artist as well, man, that's kind of crazy too because as we've been talking about this whole debate as far as like who's the greatest of all time, the 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 championship is a team award. You know what I'm
hmm
saying? Regardless of his injuries, because his hamstring's been plaguing boy for the past like 5 years or so. His hamstring's been
yeah,
going crazy, and probably longer than that. But it's like you can't say that he's a choke artist for something that the team has to put together to accomplish. You know what I'm
hmm
saying? And I did watch that series. I mean, Devin Booker and Kevin Durant were going stupid that whole series. So he was kind of overshadowed. I can't say that he choked at any point, but he was kind of overshadowed by the way that Devin Booker and Kevin Durant was playing that whole playoffs. I'm not gonna lie, but he's a great player. So I mean, like D'Lo said, man, this is his last leg, his last possible 2 years to kind of put it together and get that championship, and it's probably his best opportunity to do so, man. So I look forward to watching the Golden State Warriors and see what they do this next year with Chris Paul and having Steph Curry at his natural shooting guard position, so that way they can go crazy. But it's gonna be fun to watch. It's gonna be fun to watch for
yeah,
sure. It's
yep,
gonna be fun to watch. Thank you for watching this video. If you want to see more content like this, there's a video on the screen right here. Make sure you go ahead and click on that. Also, you can find us on all your streaming platforms, wherever you find your podcasts.